Alrighty, guys, let's give this a try. So, first time doing this, bear with me. We'll work out the kinks. So, the first FRQ here: assume that Australia and New Zealand are trading partners. Australia's economy is currently in a recession. Okay. Now, the key thing that you have to identify here is that in part A, it's asking for a graph for New Zealand. Okay, so you shouldn't start with a graph in a recession. Common mistake there. Show the impact of Australia's rising income on each of the following in the short run. So, as Australia begins to recover, they are going to work their way out of that recession. They're buying more goods overall. And if they're buying goods from New Zealand, AD is going to shift to the right here to 81 for New Zealand. Okay, we should have this labeled probably. This is the AD, and Laras for New Zealand. All right. So what happens to AD in New Zealand? It increases. And then you also have to explain. Okay, you'd say increases because exports to Australia increase. All right. And then in part two, it asks what happens to the output. Well, you guys can see here, here's our full employment output. AD shifts to the right. So output, of course, increases. Okay. Now on to part two here in B, using a correctly labeled graph of the money market for New Zealand, show the effect of the output change in the following. So the demand for money is going to increase. Okay, why? Well, you can go back and look at the lesson that that you guys just learned. When price levels increase, which it did in New Zealand, money demand is going to increase. Okay, so what happens to the demand for money? You would say the demand for money increases. Okay. Demand for money increases because price levels have increased. It's that easy. And then in part two, what happens to the nominal interest rate? Well, just directly here, the y-axis is the nominal interest rate. So you guys can see that nominal interest rates increase. Okay. Nominal interest increases. All right. Alrighty. So that's parts A and B. Now on to part C, and this is probably the trickiest part. Gets you guys every year. It asks, assume that the price level in New Zealand rises. Given your answer to part B, explain what will happen to real interest rates. Well, because we don't have numbers here, we can't say anything about real interest rates. We don't know. We know that price levels have gone up. We know that nominal interest rates have gone up. Okay. But what happens to real interest rates? We don't know. You have to say it's indeterminate because we are not given specific numbers here. So for part C, you guys can go through and do a little research on this if you want to. Okay, but we have to say it's indeterminate because we are not given specific numbers. We don't know. Okay. Now part D, although recovering, Australia remains in recession and its government takes no action. That's the key there. Okay, government takes no action. This is straight from Unit 3. Indicate whether each of the following curves will shift to the left, shift to the right, or remain unchanged in the long run. Okay, now, part 2 got cut off here. Okay, but what you should say here is AS is going to increase. Okay, AS will increase. It doesn't ask you to explain, but you guys could explain if you had to, right? You would say that AS is going to increase because input resource prices and wages have decreased due to the recession. Therefore, AS is going to increase to correct for that recession, right? No government intervention. Part 2 here that got cut off asks what happens to AD. Well, you guys know if there's no government intervention, no fiscal policy, then there is no change to AD.